We're constantly hearing about different drugs and next generation ways that science will be able to prolong our lifespan. It seems like only a select few have the time and the money in order to truly give Father Time a run for his money.
Brian Johnson, the tech entrepreneur who sold Venmo for $800 million, has spent a fortune on a quest to stay young forever.
But boosting your longevity isn't some pipe dream, and you don't need to become Tony Stark in order to do it. We're going to be going through 7 of the most well-studied and powerful tools to extend your lifespan, in some cases by up to 20 to 25%, and you don't need to spend a fortune on it either. But in order to live longer, we first need to understand why we die in the first place. This might come as a surprise, but almost nobody actually dies of old age. It's just that the processes that go on during aging make us much more susceptible to disease and to other things that can kill us. Historically, people used to die from malnourishment or from infections or from getting attacked by a bear or something, but modern living has largely eliminated those as primary causes of death. Nowadays, we die from things like cancer or heart disease or Alzheimer's or diabetes, essentially these non-infectious types of disease. And all of these conditions are characterized by inflammation, oxidative stress, and poor metabolism, specifically within your mitochondria. And even if you could actually die from old age, like let's just say you completely run out of stem cells, your cells just stop dividing altogether, and your body just shuts down, that process is still accelerated by these main mechanisms. Essentially, you're constantly being exposed to oxidants from the environment, things like UV light or pollution, or even your own mitochondria churns out a number of reactive oxygen species, which are considered oxidants. And then on the flip side, we also have antioxidants to help balance that out. So things like vitamin E, vitamin C, and a number of different compounds found in plants. And aging is largely characterized by an excess of oxidants relative to antioxidants. This can throw off the signaling within your cells, it can physically damage and kill your cells, and it can impair your mitochondrial function. Oxidative stress also directly causes inflammation. Inflammation is a main driver of aging for a number of different reasons as well. Inflammatory cytokines can do all different types of things. They can further promote oxidative stress. They can shut down your mitochondrial function. They can impair your insulin sensitivity. They can turn on different growth pathways. So for something like cancer, inflammation can promote the excessive growth of your tissues. One of inflammation's primary functions is to kill cells. So in things like cognitive decline, you'll see a lot of inflammation in the brain. And this is associated with the atrophy of different brain regions and the death of certain cells in the brain. So inflammation is going to be high when you have pretty much any health condition, and especially during aging. Finally, we have probably the most important one, which is impaired metabolism or impaired mitochondrial function. And this one should be pretty intuitive. If your mitochondria can't churn out enough energy, your cells don't have the resources needed in order to regenerate, in order to produce the proteins they need, in order to do basically anything in order to survive and make you a functioning person. This is why we associate being tired and lethargic with being old and with being energetic as young. Your cell's ability to generate energy are so important for so many different reasons. It makes your immune system more robust. It allows your detoxification systems to work properly, and impaired energy generation within your mitochondria is one of the main sources of these pro-oxidants of this oxidative stress. So now that we understand what causes aging, let's get into the list. Number 1 is going to be a combination of glycine and N-acetylcysteine. Animal studies have shown that this combination added to the diet can increase lifespan by about 25%. And the reason that these two work so well together is that they're both precursors to our master antioxidant compound called glutathione. Glutathione helps us detoxify from things like heavy metals or other xenobiotics, and it serves a central role in the protection against oxidative stress. And glutathione is so central to your body's antioxidant network. Now, either of these supplements alone have both shown longevity benefits, but together they're greater than the sum of their parts. Now, typical doses of N-acetylcysteine that have been studied in humans range from around 600 to around 1800 or even 2,400 milligrams per day, whereas for glycine, you're looking at around 3 to 6 grams a day. Glycine is also abundant in collagenous proteins. So if you think of like the skin of a fish or the cartilage of a chicken wing, bone broth, anything like that that has a lot of collagen, is going to have a lot of glycine. I'll go ahead and link an N-acetylcysteine product here from one of our sponsors. Number 2 is going to be aspirin. Now, I've done an entire video all about aspirin and why it's uniquely beneficial amongst anti-inflammatory agents. But yes, in human and in animal studies, it's been shown to reduce the risk of death, as well as from cancer and from heart disease. And the reason for this is pretty straightforward. Aspirin is an anti-inflammatory agent, and at low doses, it actually promotes the respiration of your mitochondria. So essentially it helps them churn out more energy. And in this animal study showing the longevity benefit for aspirin, they were using incredibly low doses. You're talking about under a baby aspirin per day. So realistically, this could be done about 2 or 3 times a week and you'd be getting a lot of the benefits. Number 3 is going to be vitamin E. One study in animals showed that including vitamin E in the diet increased lifespan in males by about 40% and then in females by about 14%. And vitamin E's main role is to sit within the membrane of your cells and within your mitochondria's membrane, and it prevents the oxidative damage of these membranes. So when you have these pro-oxidants and they hit your cell membrane, they can get damaged. And this can directly kill your cells and degrade your tissues. So for instance, if you have wrinkles or anything like that, that's a clear sign that the lipids in your cells are getting damaged. This is involved in pretty much any disease or aging process that you can think of. And since vitamin E fundamentally protects against that process, you can see why it would have a longevity benefit. Now, if you're going to use vitamin E regularly, I definitely suggest that you use a mixed tocopherols product, and you can try this at anywhere from 200 to around 400 IU per day. And all of these processes, from oxidative stress to inflammation, impaired energy metabolism within your mitochondria, not only are affecting your longevity, but are also making you feel pretty crappy today. And if you feel like you need some help getting back to optimal health, I would definitely suggest you check out Prism. At Prism, we have a number of different practitioners that I work with closely in order to help our clients achieve any of their health goals, from mood to digestion, sleep, fat loss, hormonal issues. Anything you can think of, we can help you out with at Prism. In fact, 94% of our clients at Prism have shown improvement in at least one symptom, and 80% have shown significant improvement. So if you want some personalized one-on-one help, definitely click here, book a free call, and we'll get you started. Number 4 is a compound called spermidine. Now, this is a compound found in things like aged cheeses and in mushrooms, and some recent research has shown that it can extend the lifespan in animals by about 10%. And spermidine's main role is a stimulator of the process of autophagy. And autophagy is basically the way that cells can clear out damaged or old mitochondria and old proteins. And if these sit around for too long, it can cause dysfunction of the different organelles within the cell. The cell itself, it can't signal properly, and it can cause inflammation. But spermidine is able to upregulate this process. And in this study, they used about 40 milligrams of spermidine a day as a human equivalent dose. Number 5 is going to be taurine. Taurine is an amino acid mainly found in muscle meats, so things like steak or fish. And there's some controversy as to whether or not your taurine levels actually decline in the blood with age. But what we do know experimentally is that adding extra taurine to the diet can increase lifespan by about 10 to 12%. And taurine has a ton of different roles throughout the body. It acts as a buffer within your mitochondria so that they're able to maintain their membrane potential and their acidity properly, and this allows them to function properly and to churn out energy. Taurine also upregulates the amounts of different antioxidant enzymes that we have. Taurine also acts on some of our primary inflammatory pathways, things like TLR4 and NF-kappa B. And these are cellular molecules that are highly involved in all different types of chronic inflammation. Human studies using taurine typically start at around 500 milligrams per day and go up to around 3 grams per day. Number 6 is ergothioneine, and this is a compound that's found almost exclusively in mushrooms. And while it's not classically considered a nutrient or a vitamin, some researchers do argue that it is an essential nutrient. Our cells actually make their own transporters for ergothioneine, which tells us that the cells think that it's very important. Levels of ergothioneine also decline with age, and when it's supplemented in animal studies, you see some pretty incredible longevity benefits. In fact, in this study, they showed that the average age at which 90% of the animals died increased by almost 30%. Ergothioneine is a powerful antioxidant, and this is why mushroom consumption is consistently linked to longevity benefits and disease prevention. In fact, a recent study showed that for the highest plasma levels of ergothioneine, it cut dementia risk by about 75%, And this was regardless of whether or not people were eating vegetables. So essentially, even if you basically didn't eat any vegetables at all, as long as your plasma ergothioneine was high, you still had this protective effect. Tons of different studies have shown that mushroom consumption is associated with a reduced risk of cancer, and there's lots to be said about mushrooms in general besides ergothioneine, but you can pause the video here if you want to look at the mushrooms with the highest levels of ergothioneine. And in this study, they showed the benefits of life extension at 1 milligram of ergothioneine per kilogram of body weight. Finally, number 7 is going to be melatonin. This might come as a bit of a surprise, but it really shouldn't. Poor sleep is consistently linked to all different sorts of health issues, and while there's a lot to sleep besides just melatonin, melatonin itself is one of the most unique antioxidants in the body, because with most antioxidants, they can just basically absorb one oxidant and then they're kind of finished. But with melatonin, it can absorb multiple molecules of oxidants for one molecule of melatonin. It also tends to accumulate more in the mitochondria, which is where most of our oxidants are formed. And in this animal study, they showed that 2 milligrams melatonin equivalent taken orally can increase lifespan by about 21%. Now, melatonin is not something that I would suggest that you take every day because you really don't want your body to become reliant on it. I think more than anything, this just means, hey, make sure you focus and get a good sleep so that you're producing enough melatonin naturally. But for those who do want to supplement, you can start with as little as 300 micrograms, and some people go up to around 5 milligrams. The time release formulas seem to be the best as they seem to mimic your body's natural production as opposed to giving you a big pulse of melatonin all at once. Finally, if you're interested in getting some lab testing for anything, you can do so through Revelation Diagnostics. Instead of needing to go to a doctor to have any lab or blood work done, you can just go to their website, pick out the labs that you want, add them to your cart, and then go get your blood drawn at your nearest Quest laboratories, and then they'll send you the results back. And you can use checkout code ANALYZE for 10% off. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.